This section provides a summary of what you've learned in this guide and outlines some next steps you might take if you've liked what you've seen. After watching this guide, you should be familiar with the concepts of model-driven development. You should also know how to install the Nasdanika Tools suite. Create a modeling project and host it on GitHub if needed. Create a Nasdanika Vinci model. Populate the model using different representations, diagram, tree, and properties view. You should recall that the diagram representation is more suitable for capturing high-level concepts and their interrelationships, and the other representations are more suitable for elaborating model details. You shall also be able to generate a website from a model with Eclipse IDE and Nasdanika CLI and publish the website to GitHub pages if desired. Completing this guide was the first step in a journey of model-driven development and code generation using Nasdanika tools. So, what's next? Assuming that you just watched the videos without installing anything, the next logical step for you would be to study the online documentation. Specifically, the model documentation. In model-driven development, models are composed from model elements similar to how sentences, paragraphs, chapters, and books are composed from words. In this guide we've learned just a few such, so to speak, words. Enough to see how it works. Using the words metaphor, the model documentation is a dictionary you need to study to expand your modeling vocabulary. Navigate to nasdanika.org. Click on the documentation in the upper left and select a topic of interest. The model documentation features package diagrams to help quickly grasp the model structure. It also features element context diagrams. These diagrams are more focused, they contain only the diagram's element and its related elements. Diagram elements on both package and context diagrams have tooltips and are clickable. You can move the mouse pointer over diagram elements to get short descriptions of the hovered elements from the tooltips. You can also navigate the model documentation by clicking on diagram elements. Below the diagrams you will find detailed information about the model element with a list of contents followed by descriptions of the model element members, structural features and operations. The next step after getting familiar with the documentation is to install the Nasdanika Tools suite, download the resume project and play with it. For example, explore how different roles and section styles work. You can download sources of the Get Started project from the Nasdanika site. You can also download them from GitHub. You can even download it at a specific stage of development by using the corresponding commit. Once you download, do import existing projects into Workspace, select Archive File. Tooltips in the Properties views and Create menus shall help you with your modeling efforts. Note that the tooltip text is actually the first sentence from the model documentation of the corresponding element. So if the tooltip does not provide enough information, consult the documentation. When you are in Eclipse, there is no need to open the online documentation, the same documentation content is available via the integrated help. The following slides provide some additional information which may help you with the final next step, to start using Nasdanika Vinci in your solutions. First of all, keep in mind that Nasdanika Vinci models are files, and internally they are text, or more precisely, XML files. As such, you can do with them anything that can be done with files: store on a thumb drive, put under version control, diff, merge, branch, deploy to a shared location and reference via a URL. The same is true for the generated content. You don't need any specialized engine to host your site, you can serve it from a shared drive or a local folder or send as a zip file via email. Models can reference each other, and one logical model can consist of multiple model files or resources. Some of those resources can be generated and some can be created manually. It has already been mentioned that the Nasdanika documentation site is generated from several Vinci models, with a number of them being generated from other data sources, EMF models and Java sources. One of Vinci applications is documentation as code. Such documentation can be versioned, branched, composed, generated. It can be used to document software products, as it is done for Nasdanika products. In this case, the documentation models reside close to the code and evolve with the code. It can also be used to capture organizational knowledge, for example, to document business processes and artifacts. Different departments or teams would own parts of the federated model, each part may evolve at its own pace, and the parts would form a single logical model to generate a site. It can also be a suite of sites generated from multiple models. The sites may have multiple releases, each consisting of specific versions of individual parts. Multiple documentation releases may coexist at the same time, deployed at different URLs. If out-of-the-box functionality is not enough, you can extend Nasdanika Vinci by creating new model elements and commands. Custom elements may produce content by retrieving information from external sources such as a database, a REST service, or an Excel file. Custom commands may pull information from external systems and generate Vinci models from them for further federation and generation of a site. They can be used to deploy generated sites to external systems, e.g. to the cloud. Currently Vinci has two generation targets: web site and Eclipse Help. You can create a command for a new generation target. Consult the developer guide for details on how to extend Nasdanika Vinci. One ongoing step which we recommend to do is checking for updates. We publish new releases about once a quarter. If you'd like to stay on the bleeding edge, you can download or update from the Develop branch. This way you'll get the new functionality sooner, but it might be unstable.